and over and over and over and over and over again. And every time the act is committed in the mind, you are actually like a record making a groove. And it is only a matter of time before the physical act is consummated, because in reality, you've already done it. You know, the mind is a powerful thing. When I was young, sometimes, you know, children have accidents, they say. They thought they were in the bathroom. Actually thought they went to the bathroom and end up wetting the bed. Is that right? But that's the mind. See? I'm not going any further along that line. But the mind is powerful. Do you follow what I am saying? So, whenever we do something that is contrary to what is right, and the preachers hold up the standard of God, and God is very clear in the Bible and in the Quran of the things that he disapproves of. I mean, there's no gray area. It's absolute. He don't like this, he doesn't like that. He likes this, but he don't like that. So when the preacher raises up the standard of what God likes, immediately when you hear it raised up, if you've been doing something contrary, what happens? You drop your head, you feel a little shame. Look, oh God, I hope he get off that sucker. Oh. Why you want him to get up? Because I'm guilty. So most of these evangelical preachers that you read on television, or hear on television, or see on television, hear on the radio, or maybe your own pastors, they preach in a way to have a congregation full of guilty people. So can you imagine Jimmy Swaggart saying, God don't want nobody drunk? Well, that's right. But I just come out the whiskey store. Not me personally. But if you just got a bottle, how you feel? All right, Jimmy, get off of that. I just paid so much and so much for this fifth. Then they start talking about dope. And you got some pot in the house, some crack, or whatever you use. But the way they preach it in a way where you're guilty, but you ain't ready to give it up. You understand? I'm guilty, but I'll be damned if I'm going to let this man drive me away from what I like. And God don't like fornication and adultery. And, I mean, the people's face immediately drops because everybody is guilty. Satan done got a hold to you. Satan got you. Satan is doing this. And they say, oh, Lord, Satan must got me. Oh, now you really messed up. And guilt got you so tied down till you can't think straight. You can't move because guilt is a burden. God does not want us to preach his religion as though we are free. I'm talking about the preachers. Free from any sin or any guilt. And he doesn't want you to take a people that he came to save and you destroy them with a heavy burden of guilt. But at the same time, you must lift up the standard of what he requires and then give them the strength to build their will to overcome their weakness, that they may live up to the standard of God and thereby gain access to God's favor. There's a difference there. Preaching to make people feel guilty is not the spirit of a God of mercy. Preaching to make people feel, wow, I've fallen short, but here's the way I can make it up and get on up to God. Now that's the way it should be done. Okay? Now, look at this. this body that Almighty God has so bounteously and wonderfully fashioned for us. It is a goodly form, our form. It is a marvelous instrument, this body. Would you agree? In it, there's a heaven and there's a hell. Or there's an upper region, a heavenly part of us, which deals with that which does the controlling, the guiding. And there's the earthly part, which of course is the flesh, the blood, the bone. Okay? Now there's an unseen part of us, and there's a very visible part of us. The unseen or spiritual part deals with the way you think. You can't see that. But if you watch the actions of a person, it can tell you something about the way they think. But the real core of a man's thinking or a woman's thinking is called the heart. And the heart is compared in the scriptures of the Bible to the male organ. Oh, God. Now, this is not no filthy, cheap talk here tonight. Why is the heart compared to the male organ? Jesus talks about circumcision of the heart. Is that right? You can't circumcise the heart. Circumcision is an act decreed upon the Jews and Muslims of the male organ. It is the cutting away of the foreskin of the male organ. Now, what is it about the foreskin of the male organ that compares it with the heart or the core of a man or woman's thinking, the seat of our intellect and the core of our emotions? The foreskin is that which comes over, covers over the male organ and hides disease. So wise Allah, God, ordered that the children of Israel, the male children, be circumcised, because the male organ can hold disease, because it is in a dark place and it is covered. And this is where all germs or bacteria grow. They grow in darkness. And this is why under the arms and in all of the real dark places where there is more moisture and more darkness, there is the growth of more bacteria. Do you understand? So now, if this instrument is the instrument of life itself, and it is dirty with bacteria building up under that foreskin that is unseen, and that is placed where it is created to be placed for the procreation of life, and it is passing on life, but it's also passing on death in the germs and disease that is around it that is unseen. So Moses asked the little Jewish boys that when they are coming from their mother, a few days old, cut away the foreskin, that the organ of life may be constantly washed and kept clean. But what about your heart? And what about your thinking? And what about the seat of your intellect? Mama don't know what you're thinking.